Hello, my name is Joe van Wyk and welcome to my podcast. You're watching Screenplay Essentials. This is episode 4, part 2, in which I'll be talking about developing the personalities of your main character. In the first part, I discuss the groundwork of the psychology that you need to implement. And this episode is more about a bit of a case study of the 3 famous personality test diagrams that you find in life and tests that you can take yourself. But you learn from the real world experiences and the real world personalities to implement it into your own main character so that they are extremely believable and relatable to the audience. These personality theories are patterns we see in our own lives and how we relate to other people. And this is a very effective way to implement that knowledge into your own, developing your own main characters and sell them to the audience. So the first part I'd like to talk to you about is the most common 5 types of personalities that you find, and you can see them in the Hexaco model, but I like to go into a bit more depth and to put them into contrast and explain 12 different types in this sort of fashion. The first one, introverts versus extroverts. Now we all relate to this very closely. We all know this probably by heart, that whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you also get a centrovert, which shares both qualities. By definition, the introverts are ones who draw their energy by being by themselves, and they enjoy their own thoughts, whether it's reading a book or just in some sort of isolation where they can recharge their energy essentially. And they also enjoy social environments, but it's often very limited to close friends and family that doesn't overwhelm them with loud noises and people trying to steal their attention. Whereas the extroverts, of course, are ones who draw their energy from bringing people together, that stealing the limelight, being the center of attention. They're often very warm and kind and very generous. They're loving outwards. They are very humorous. And it's that ability of being the center of attention, and extroverts draw that energy from that. If you think about people go on a trip, extroverts would prefer going with a group of people, where introverts would go with a loved one or a family member, or by themselves traveling Europe, for example. The next one, agreeable characters versus disagreeable characters. Agreeable characters are the ones who are kind, trustworthy, cooperative. They're ones who are generally humble, straightforward, honesty, and they've got the tender qualities, the positive traits that you find in a human. Whereas the disagreeable characters are often selfish. They can be opinionated, they can be arrogant. It's often a very competitive type of personalities, and antagonists often have disagreeable features. But what people often like to do is give the main character, the protagonist, that is a good character or with a good moral compass, disagreeable factors, so that there's room for either improvement or just a relatability with the audience. If you think about the anti-hero, a very famous disagreeable characteristics, even though the character becomes or is a good character, they can have selfish tendencies within their personality traits. And sometimes you need that disagreeable components in a protagonist so that they can face conflict, so that they don't shy away from conflict and hide themselves in a room somewhere, so that they go out into the world and face their problems and solve the world problem and the conflict and get whatever they need to achieve to obtain their super objectives. The next one, the conscientious versus unconscientious personalities. Conscientious personalities are ones who have a sense of duty and responsibility. They are goal-driven type of people. They are organizers. They are critical thinkers. They strive towards perfection. They've got a sense of preparation in whatever they do. If you think about, again, Leslie from Parks and Recreation, extreme beautiful example of a very conscientious person who goes above and beyond to prepare themselves for whatever life throws at them, and they can often break down when they accidentally miss a thing that they didn't think of. Whereas the unconscientious personalities are ones or go with the flow, free-spirited, free-minded thinkers. They are not confined to traditions or structure. They the responsibility is not a thing that's on top of their priority list. They're often very adventurous in their life, and they generally don't care what other people think of them. Where they see themselves, they are in the moment, in the present tense. And if you think about the famous hippie type of character, or like the dude from the Big Lebowski, is the best example of an unconscientious type of person. Then the next one, open to experiences and closed to experiences. Characters who are open to experiences welcome new ideas, new inventions. They are very curious in their interest in other people and ideas. They don't shy away from exploring different perspectives. They can relate to other people's perspectives and ideologies and see their points of views. They typically love arts and culture, and they're often the ones who are the trendsetters. They push the new boundaries, implement new things, new inventions, whereas the people who are closed-minded are extremely narrow-minded and can be closed off to new experiences. They're the ones who believe in the traditional way of doing things. Things that worked in the past will work again, and they're steadfast and often stubborn in how they approach new ideas. And when someone raises new ideas, they'll be usually the ones who will shut them down. And often what people like to do is put these two characters together in like a buddy film genre. And like Lethal Weapon's characters, Mel Gibson's characters, very unconscientious type of open to experiences and invites that craziness, that conflict. Whereas Danny Glover's character is more closed off to experiences and the more traditional cop. Neuroticism versus stable characters. Neurotic characters, very famously, they are very sensitive to life's ups and downs. They are more prone to anxiety, depression. They feel vulnerable in any given state. Extremely self-conscious about themselves or their own problems. If you think about Woody Allen's characters throughout all his movies, it's often a character that's extremely neurotic in how he sees conflict or the opposite sex or whatever relationship he finds himself in. Whereas stable characters are ones who are grounded. They don't allow emotions to control their thinking. They are ones who often are the strong leaders that despite of feelings, they would make the tough choices and tough decisions. The mentor archetype character is a famous stable character because the mentor already went through the hero's journey, and that's essentially what most mind characters strive towards. Is because they're flawed in the beginning, they tend to become stable at the end of the movie. Then lastly, humility versus narcissism. Characters who are humble are ones who put others' needs in front of themselves. They are ones who often give, they don't take or they don't accept validation from others. They're the ones usually that the helpers and the peacemakers. They're the ones who forgive people despite the atrocities. Then this is the narcissist character who loves themselves and puts themselves on a pedestal. The ones who views the world as inferior, or they are the ones who are destined to be in power and they need to control power, and they can manipulate others to get what they want, and they see people's weaknesses as their fault, and taking advantage of them is just a bonus in life. Now, just the next thing I'd like to mention after these 12 personality traits, there are more traits than types, and there's like 600 positive and negative traits that you can find. I'll put a link in the description that you can have a look at. But you also find a type of persona, which is the mental illness and mental disability personas. And this is like the bipolar, the autism, the OCD, the borderline personality, the split personality syndrome types of mental disorders that you find. And I encourage you to do thorough research when delving into these subjects. And if you're a writer watching this saying that you can't touch these things or they're taboo subjects, my advice for you is to follow documentary filmmaking or invest into public service announcement, PSA types of adverts following these causes. but we're dealing here with fictional characters and fictional writing, and you cannot be afraid of touching these subjects. If they interest you, you need to do thorough research. If you look at the very famous The Good Doctor, it's a case study of an autistic main character that goes through ups and downs, and it can be very difficult writing those scenes, but it takes a level of maturity to write those scenes, and you cannot shy away from that responsibility, and therefore you need to do thorough research when you are delving into these subjects. And go above and beyond, go do field work and examine and understand the behaviors of these mental disorder characteristics so that you implement accuracy into your main characters and in your script. Don't do the 90s thing where you just throw these things in and apply whatever your own biases or things that you always thought the characters are, and because those things can immediately backfire on you. Do thorough research. We have the internet today, and you have ChatGPT to help you do research about these things, and you can fully implement accuracy into your character and your story. Okay, so next up, the very famous MBTI, Myers-Briggs 16 personalities, developed by Catherine Briggs and Isabel Myers. This model specifies individuals into 4 main categories: that how they make decisions, how they respond and deal with the outer world, and how they gain information. Then which also makes up 5 different personality traits within the mind: introversion, extroversion, the energy, observant versus intuition, the nature, thinking versus feeling, the tactics, which is judging versus perceiving, and the identity, assertion versus turbulent. So the first one, extroversion versus introversion, as I've previously explained, but just to reiterate, introverts are the ones who are reserved and thoughtful, whereas extroverts are the ones who are outspoken, spontaneous, energetic type of people. The first category, intuitive and thinking. Intuitive people enjoy interpreting patterns and work with abstract ideas. They look to the future and implementing new possibilities and ideas. Thinking characters put emphasis on facts and objective data, and their decision making is often logical and impersonal. The second category, again, intuitive and feeling. Feeling people are, their decision making is weighed upon the emotions involved from the people. The next part, observant and judging, or sensory and judging. The sensory people are ones who take information from reality and via their own 5 senses, and they are very fact and data orientated and hands-on experienced. Whereas judges appreciate structure and order. They like to plan things thoroughly and hate last-minute changes. They lean towards structure and make firm decisions. The last one, observant and perceiving, or sensory and perceiving. Perceiving people tend to be open and flexible about things, to change their mind. They appreciate the flexibility of things and being spontaneous. So I'm fairly certain you have noticed that it's usually presented in a circular fashion, and that you can see on Google Images. There's also a block form one with acronyms, and I've heard writers prefer the block form one with acronyms. It feels a bit for me too overwhelming, so I've decided to make another circle with my own design to make it user-friendly for presenting the MBTI, and you'll see that I still have the 4 quadrants. It's split in half: the observant versus intuitive, or sensory versus intuitive, and these 4 quadrants have 4 personalities each. Then all the introverts will go on the black circle, and all the extroverts will go on the white circle. The first one is Analyst, what I like to call the ALDC Analyst. The second one is the AMPC Diplomats. The third one is the DICE Sentinels, and the fourth one is the AVEE Explorers. Architects, they are the ones who are thoughtful tacticians. They apply rationality and creative thinking in their daily lives. They see through fakeness and hypocrisy. Their inner worlds are often private and complex, and they're not afraid to break the rules and risk approval. They're famously not very warm and fuzzy, but they would rather be right than be popular in likability. Logicians, they have very unique perspectives in lives. They are vigorous intellectuals. They puzzle themselves with the unique mysteriousness of the universe. They often approach a subject with unconventional thinking methodologies and implement it, however, to solve it in whichever way possible. They can tend to overthink the smallest things, and they are the ones who generally make up the teachers and the philosophers in life. Commanders are naturally born leaders. They are a powerhouse. It's often a larger than life type of image. They are gifted with charisma and confidence to bring people together behind a common goal. And commanders are known to have a chilling degree of insensitivity. They can crush someone who they feel is insignificant or lazy or incompetent. And if you think about a ship captain or a spaceship captain, they would make choices and decisions despite the popular consensus, but they're the ones who are extremely responsible, and it's usually the ones who make the toughest decisions, take charge in that commanding figure. Debaters are famously known to have a rebellious streak. Faith, religion, ideology, belief system are not sacred for them to question. They would even question their own perspectives, their own belief system for the fun of it, to see the world from another set of eyes or different perspectives, just for the fun of it. They tend to be bold and creative and curious. They deconstruct ideas and put them together with their own mental agility. They tend to have a thirst for knowledge, very curious about many subjects, the general knowledge of things. If you think about people who go to pop quizzes, that general knowledge is the thirst of implementing that into a sort of game. And they also have a sense of humor, and they are very entertaining type of people. Advocates yearn for the extraordinary things in life. They approach life with deep thought and imagination. And advocates don't see success through money and status. They obtain their fulfillment in helping others and to be a force of goodness in the world. Advocates tend to often get frustrated when people don't recognize their efforts and their good intentions, and criticism is often seen as a very personal attack, hurtful towards their feelings. Mediators have a inner, passionate, vibrant inner life. They are quiet, open-minded, imaginative. They use a caring approach to everything that they do. Mediators are compassionate and non-judgmental. They want to hear the other side of the story. They want to hear the other side of the perspective. Conflict can be very stressful for mediators who yearn for harmony and acceptance, and dealing with people and their desire to please people can be very draining. Protagonists are born leaders. They often have a clear vision in what needs to happen in order to change, in order to perfect their lives. They often strive to become a positive influence or a positive impact on other people's lives. And they believe in bringing people together for a common goal. And if they bring people together as a crowd, only good things can happen. And they are the ones who are extremely goal-driven. Campaigners are free-spirited, they're open-minded, outspoken, outgoing, open-hearted. They try to enrich their lives with social connections. They have a longing to create a meaningful relationship by connecting with others. They spend a lot of time with experiencing different relationships from different people. They are very social like that. And they believe people need to express their feelings quite openly and freely, and they tend to puzzle themselves often how to understand people's desires and intentions, and that can also keep them awake at night. Inspectors are pride themselves on their own integrity. They when they say something or commit to something, they follow through extensively. They are not attention seekers. They often are ones who are the backbone of society, the sturdy foundation of things, and they prefer to be not in the forefront of things. Inspectors have earned that reputation of being strict and unempathetical, but they've also earned that respect of being reliable, dependable, and practical. And in stressful situations, they operate with a sense of logic and reasoning. Defenders make the world go round. They are ones who like putting attention on their friends and acquaintances, uplifting them, their strength, and they find joy in helping people build and secure and stable, healthy lives. They've got an eye for detail and they meet deadlines. They remember special occasions, uphold traditions, and they shower people with confidence, care and support. They really expect some sort of recognition or validation from others, but can lose enthusiasm and motivation when those people ignore them completely. Executives are representatives of tradition and order. They value honesty. They embrace people who are loyal and that has dignity in their work. They are valued for their clear advice and guidance, and will happily take the lead on difficult paths and accomplish difficult tasks. Executives don't work alone. They expect people to pull their weight, to reciprocate that work ethic. They are known to show their wrath if their partner or subordinates are lazy or incompetent or jeopardize the mission or the project at hand. For consoles, life is at the best when shared with others. They form the bedrock of communities. They open their hearts and their homes for friends and family and neighbors. Consoles are altruist. They take responsibility serious. They believe giving back to the community and do the right thing. They are often opinionated, but these opinions of them are generally rooted in respect for tradition, and you'll often find consoles being extremely democratic in how they view each other and support each other to share the world and life with others in mutual respect. So the last group, virtuosos. Virtuosos explore the world with their hands and their eyes. They love to examine things. They've got a curiosity and a healthy dose of skepticism. They love getting their hands dirty. They love breaking things open and investigate how they work. If you think about mechanics or engineers, they also often approach any sort of conflict straightforward, head-on, finding direct solutions. They rely heavily on trial and error, first-hand experiences when executing new projects and new ideas. Virtuosos rely on logic. If people comes up with a new idea that hasn't been tested or just trying to be silly, they can get really irritated and blunt. Adventurers are true artists. They see life as a canvas and of self-expression, from what they wear to where they spend their time. They often find themselves in arts and culture and music. Meeting an adventurer can be an extremely interesting thing. They often the personalities who march at the beat of their own drum, very unconscientious, live in the moment, in the present tense, no responsibilities, can have difficulty forming long-term goals. And when receiving harsh or unfair criticism, they can act out in a very temperamental and spectacular fashion. Entrepreneurs have a lot of passion and energy. They have a rational mind thinking. Their minds can sometimes be distracted often, but they'll always look for opportunities to get their hands on. Entrepreneurs can be a force of nature when they focus their attention and their mind on a certain specific subject, and often excel at selling that or promoting that, whatever the thing is that the task at hand. Entrepreneurs have their own moral compass, and they often have this mindset of rules are meant to be broken. Then lastly, entertainers. They love the spotlight. They see the world as a stage. They often caught up in the moment and want others to experience the moment with them. They're very passionate and often love drama in their own lives. They love encouraging other people and always give advice for someone in need. And coincidentally, when conflict addresses them or directed towards them, they shy away from conflict. They hate taking on conflict head on, and they would often rely on friends and family to help them out of those tough situations. So those are the 16 personalities of MBTI system, and exploring these things in detail can definitely help shape the personality of your main character. Okay, so finally, the Enneagram. The Enneagram is a model that shows us human psychology and personalities, how we see the world and how we see ourselves. It's a topology system that describes human personalities in interconnecting personality types. The Enneagram consists of a 9-point diagram that's shown on the outside of the circle, which represents the 9 personality types. And you'll see there's interconnecting lines, which I'll mention in a moment. The circle is also divided in the 3 thirds, which essentially consist of centers, which represents the action center, feeling center, and thinking center. The Enneagram model not only shows us growth and self-awareness or spiritual growth, but also helps us understand motivations and how we communicate with other people. Each personality is categorized by dominant behaviors, motivations, fears. There's a list of strengths and weaknesses, and how we come to unhealthy and healthy selves. It's important to know there's no one pure personality type. We tend to have wings, and when you find yourself on this circle, you've got wings on both sides, and you often, your dominant personality type will be shared with a wing next to it. Your basic type will dominate your personality, but one of these wings will add information or elements, or maybe contradictory elements, to your personality. And then other times you will be more linked to your base type and you do not share any aspects of your wings. To make the Enneagram more complex, each personality home group has a set of 3 subtypes, and that makes up 27 subtypes, but I won't go into that much detail. I'll only explain the home base 9 personalities of the Enneagram. But when you do those research, you'll notice that those subtypes have to do with our instincts, self-preservation instincts, sexual attractive instincts, and adaptive social instincts. Now, these lines that you see in the middle of the circle symbolizes movement, change in dynamics, and strong polarities. Our core base personality will always be dominant. That will be the home base. But we can be pulled, we can travel in between these interconnecting lines that shapes our personality. In each personality type you find levels that describes our healthy states, our average states, and our unhealthy states. When a person moves to health or growth, it's called direction of integration of growth. And when a person can't control the situation where stress and pressure overwhelms them, this is called the direction of stress and disintegration. But I won't go into much detail with that. That's where, if you do research, you will find yourself reading that each personality has that levels of how are they in their healthy state, how are they in their unhealthy states. The reformer. Now, type 1s have strict rules of how things should be done. They focus on imperfections and mistakes, and they are often they're conscientious, they are ethical, and they have a strong sense of what's right and what's wrong. They are often teachers and crusaders. They are advocates for change or how to improve things. They fear to make mistakes, and they uphold or try to maintain a high standard, but can slip into become very critical and perfectionistic. Type 2, the helper. The helper is a very warm, thoughtful, compassionate, empathetic, self-sacrificing type of person. They often see the good in other people and encouraging that goodness. And it can be overwhelming because they tend to be people pleasers, and because they can't say no. So the ones who are very prone to possessiveness, and they're difficult to acknowledge their own needs. Type 3, the achievers. The achievers are very goal-driven type of personalities. They are ambitious, energetic, very passionate about what they're trying to achieve, self-confident. They can be attractive and charming types of diplomats. Achievers are often workaholics. They're very competitive in the working environment or social environment, and they are very concerned about how other people view them, their success and their status or their image, and they can be very driven to that competition. But they often set the examples for other people or other personalities to better themselves in whatever they're trying to achieve. Type 4, the individualist. The individualists are self-conscious. They are very sincere, compassionate, emotionally honest, can be very personal, and can be often very moody. They're also emotionally strong. They stay in touch with their feelings and internalizes everything, but can also be prone to melancholy, self-indulgence, and self-pity. Type 5, the investigator. Much like the investigator or the logistician from the MBTI model, they are very open-minded, and they love to view things in their true context. They master whatever's interests them. They tend to gather lots of information and resources so that they can be knowledgeable about any given subject. They're able to focus and concentrate on complex ideas and skills, can often be preoccupied by their own thoughts and their own minds, but they are independent, they're innovative, they're insightful, and they are inventive. They have problems with eccentricity, being in isolation, and nihilism can also be a thing that they struggle with. Type 6, the loyalist. The loyalists are very loyal, very trustworthy, committed, supporting, very prepared, responsible, and they're usually the ones who are very affectionate and form long-lasting relationships. They're excellent troubleshooters. They foresee problems and harness cooperation in themselves and others, but they react very strong to conflict. They can be defensive, evasive, defiant, rebellious. They have problems with anxiety and can be very self-doubtful and suspicious about things and other people. Type 7, the enthusiast. The enthusiast is very enthusiastic, very adventurous, very imaginative, very spontaneous, and a positive type of person. They always look for the next best thing, and they may unfortunately also misapply their talents and skills and become scattered and undisciplined and distracted and exhausted by this constant energy that they have. They also have problems with being impatient and can be impulsive. Type 8, the challenger. The challenger is very energetic, assertive. They are very protective and resilient. The challenger processes the world through their gut instincts and evaluate other people's strengths and weaknesses. They may even act without thinking properly through things. They're very generous and loving to their loved ones. They often feel like they need to control their environment, so they can act out very intimidating and very confrontational. They've got problems with their temper and hate exposing or being vulnerable in any given state. Type 9, the peacemaker. The peacemaker wants to bring people together. They are good listeners, good mediators. They form trust in other people. They want things to go or run smoothly without conflict, but they can even go along with negative people to keep the peace. They tend to give everything equal priority and can have difficulty accomplishing specific an important task or make the priority of those tasks. They're more connected with themselves and can often form true relationships with other people, more connected and more meaningful relationships. They can have problems with inertia and being stubborn. So that's the Enneagram personalities for you. If you do research, you'll quickly notice that these personalities have a wing that's very important. So, for example, if you research the reformer, they can have a wing of a peacemaker, or they can have a wing of a helper. And moving into that direction, whichever way they're moving, following the lines, that will dictate how they deal with stress and how they move to a healthy component or version of themselves. We can share and fluctuate between these interconnecting personalities. But it's important to know that we don't change personality type, the home base, with another home base. In conclusion, I hope I made sense with all these different personality tests that you can do yourself, but that you can implement these real-world personalities into your main character and developing your main character so that they are relatable to your audience and that they are credible. Because we see these personalities in real life, and better yet, when you have a main character, a fictional main character on the screen, and they reflect these personalities that we all know or subconsciously or unconsciously know, and we root for them, we cheer for them, we hate them, we despise them, and it just makes a character more believable when you implement real world personalities. And applying personalities to your main characters and characters can be a difficult thing to do, or whatever thing works for the story and the genre at hand. I look at the characters' strengths and weaknesses and how they respond to conflict, how they react to other people in stressful situations, because you have to remember, in real life, we don't necessarily show our personalities to the world. We often hide our personalities, and especially when you have that armor, that character identity that prevents the world from harming our essence, our true selves. And often through conflict and stress and personal goals and aspirations and our dreams, our desires, our personality comes out, and that's usually our behaviors. And the cool thing about these things is that when you're writing 150 scenes, that sometimes you have scenes where you don't know what to do. And the good thing, what these personalities and studying these personalities does, is it gives you an ideas of what to do with your characters and how they go through change, if they go through change at all, and how to implement that accuracy within their personality and how they relate to conflict and how they relate to the world. I also understand there's a large group of writers that would completely ignore all of this and just write the story, write the character in their being proactive, pursuing their super objective without focusing too much on personalities, and that's all fine when that automatically occurs into your script. I can only speak for myself when I look at these personalities, these real world personalities, and fully understand how they tick, and so that their strengths and their weaknesses and how they resonate with other people and how they react and respond to conflict, so that when I write a scene that addresses conflict, that they don't do things out of character. And very importantly, to emphasize again, do research, find the personality that works for you, that you like, and investigate the strengths and the weaknesses and how you can apply that to your character thoroughly, whether it's the Enneagram or the MBTI. And if you remember in the part 1 where I explained the character armature, the character Bible, do all that groundwork, the psychology, and then apply either the Enneagram or the MBTI personality type to your character. Some features are overlapping. So for example, you can have like a reformer and an architect. And I also don't think there are strict rules of what you can or what you can't do. Creating a binary opposition contrast makes things compelling to watch, very memorable characters. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. In part 3, I will be going into psychoanalysis film theory, components that you can apply to developing the main character, and I'll be exploring components of fear, likability, and creating empathy for your main character. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next episode.